What's up, AP? I'd like to officially welcome all 23 of you, which is a little bit of a step up from last year, which is a good sign, to our new 2018-2019 AP European class. The main thing we're getting started off with in this first video is we're talking about just basic things like summer assignment, like exactly what will be due when. We're going to be talking about what's going to be expected of you that first day when you get back. We're going to talk about some grading practices, like which maps you'll be using regularly, little odds and ends like that, all right? So let's go ahead and get started. We're trying to keep this first thing simple. You do not need to write any of this stuff down unless you absolutely want to. A lot of this will be explained in the syllabus that you get the very first day. However, there are probably a couple little notes for due dates and things that you may want to write down so you feel the most prepared that you possibly can, right? So first and foremost, to start off, we've got a month. We've got 1 month until school starts, right? I should have posted this bad boy yesterday because technically that would have been an absolute month, but right now we're at 30 days, all right? So we're at the 30-day mark until the very first day of full class, okay? So I think y'all's orientation day is I think it's like the 3rd or something like that, but you've got time, all right? We've got plenty of time, especially for you procrastinators out there that I know there's probably an abundance of, right? So getting into it, though, with a month out, let's go through your summer assignment, and let's talk about, we're going to go through everything that'll be due the very first day, and then we're going to talk about what will happen the first day, because I'm giving you a heads up about this. So for those of you who it's now September 1st, and you just now watched this first video, rookie mistake, all right? So anyway, because first and foremost, for those of you who have never had me before, super excited to have you, the Denny Kellys, the Michaelas, I think Dion, is in this class as well, right? So a lot of you new people that I've never had before, none of this is going to come to a surprise to you because you have nothing to compare it to. Now, a lot of you, though, I had when you were freshmen, right? But you need to understand something about this class. Freshman Western Civ versus AP European is vastly, vastly different, all right? And in terms of rigor, in terms of what you're going to be expected to do, in terms of deadlines, writing, things like that, right? And some of you are like, well, Mr. Terry wears bow ties and he runs around and does weird stuff. I'm still going to do that stuff, but I still also expect a lot out of my AP kids, right? And we'll get talking into that stuff more and more the very first day. But basically, this is just my upfront warning. All right, don't go into this class lightly. Don't think it's going to be cake. Don't think because I'm the one teaching it that it's going to be one of the easier APs or whatever. Because historically speaking, the AP European exam and the course itself is one of the hardest ones for high schoolers to take due to the density of the material. All right, but let's keep going though. I don't want to freak you out because I do love this course, and European history is my absolute favorite to study, to teach, to do everything with. I used to be a big U.S. history junkie guy, but now 250 years versus, thousands of years worth of material kind of pales in comparison. You know what I mean? Also, the deaths and stuff that happen in European history will blow your mind, I promise. Anyway, but getting into it, let's start with the maps, all right? So all 4 maps are going to be due on the first day of class. Those maps include your geographic map. That's the rivers and mountain ranges and larger bodies of water. With that map, give you a heads up, you will very, very rarely ever be quizzed on anything to do with that map's nitty-gritty, like where the Vlotstack River is or blah, 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 blah. Which one's the Thames. You'll need to know some of the big stuff, right? Because we expect you to know some of the big stuff. Because honestly, to understand geographically where we're talking about at certain times, I might tell you, be like, yo, look at your geographic map really quick so we can talk about blah, 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 all right? That one's mostly a reference map, okay? Mostly a reference map. The next ones, though, you've got your map of 1914 Europe, which is big just to understand kind of where we left off when you were freshmen, right at World War I. A lot of you haven't heard about European history since then, so it's a good place to start. And then we have the map of 1815, which is the fall of the Napoleonic Empire, which is a massive, it's kind of that map serves as in my opinion, one day when I become Dr. Terry, I'll write a book all about this, that there's 2 phases of European history. There's before Napoleon, there's after Napoleon, all right? So that map serves as a great
kind of time marker, all right? And it also is the halfway, it's the median in the course. So the other one, some of y'all are like, well, why don't we have, we're starting in 14, that's a big heads up. We're starting in 1450s Europe, all right? Post Middle Ages Europe. Now, a lot of y'all are like, well, why don't we have any maps from then? Mainly because nation states didn't really exist yet. They were constantly swelling and contracting, and the borders weren't ever really set. So off of that note, in the description, in this below, right, there's going to be a link to a really awesome site called Euratlas.org, I think, but it's called Euratlas. Now, with Euratlas, it lets you go through 1400 Europe, 1500 Europe, 1600 Europe, and you can progressively move your way up. So we can use it in class to actually look at like how these countries changed and varied in size, and how Italy was just this like smashing ground of everybody owned it at one point or another. It's tough to give you any map before 1815 simply because it's not set yet. All right, there wasn't a real hard boundaries yet. A lot of these places weren't even considered countries yet. So we're going to use that Euratlas source whenever we can. So click on that in the description, bookmark it on your computer, and it'll come in extremely handy when we need it. Now, next thing, speaking of, let's get into the flip stuff, all right? That's the next component that's going to be due, all right? So notice I'm working kind of up in a way because we all know what the biggest assignment for the summer is, but we'll get into that at the end. Now, the flips, though, the first one, there'll be 4 total, theoretically speaking. Some of you know me. Sometimes I get distracted. Sometimes I forget stuff. So if there ends up being less, it's whatever. To give you a marker of when you know that there will be no more coming. First and out the gate, they will all be up by September 1st, okay? So if an AP flip is not up by September 1st, it's not coming until the start of school, okay? So September 1st is your, like, dead-end ground marker, all right? Now, to give you a heads up with the flips, speaking of, this counts as one of those flips. Do you have to take notes on it? No. Do I expect you to? No. Am I checking for notes on this? No, all right? So it's not even a content-based flip, but it's just so I can give you a heads up on everything. Every flip that will be required of you in class that will be expected to be graded is going to start out with the letters AP. It'll go AP flip number, blah, 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 the Rise of the Napoleonic Empire. You know, like, so it'll have titles, it'll have AP connotation in front of it, and then it'll have a number basically telling you where we are and how many there were, and helps kind of keep you track of your grades a little bit so you can know, like, oh, had that real rough week, I missed that one. So I'll be able to get back after earlier. Isn't that right, Jules Bear? So getting into it, though, there will be 3, hopefully, content-based flips that'll say AP flip number blah, Renaissance lead up, blah, 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 blah. Now, I do for mainly just hoping that one day CNN will discover my travel vlogs and then bring me on as a caster and I'll be rich and famous. I do record, like, travel videos, mostly just for my former students, for my family, for people like that. You're not required to do those. Just wanted to give you a heads up. So if it says vlog on it, you don't have to do that. It's just something fun that I do because I'm a dork. So anyway, but you'll be expected to have at least 3 of those flips. That'll be covered on the first day. I'll check those. We'll go through them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the biggest assignment, the big money thing that I guarantee solid 50% of you have yet to even start, which is really depressing in a lot of ways because you got to get after it, all right? You really got to get after this because these books are not like just going to sit around and read themselves. Is the book report and the secondary component that comes along with it that is technically not a part of your summer assignment, all right? So first of all, the book report is mainly a writing sample. So I can see, you know, like when I look at Lucas Ravano's book report, I'll be able to say his editorial review of that book, if you will. It is very short. It is 2 double-spaced pages. It's cake. It is literally so easy. But what I will be grading for specifically, write this down, I'm looking for evidence-based review, all right? I want you to be like, I really like this book because, or I really didn't like this book because, and being very, very specific, okay? I want you to set this up almost like a 5-paragraph essay, all right? A little intro, some evidence-based body paragraphs. It doesn't have to be 5 on the money. It's an editorial review, but you do need to separate your things into paragraph form, all right? Now, so it'll be 2 pages, double spaced. It's cake. I should have made it 4, but I forgot to edit the piece of paper. That was my fault. So as part of that, that is only worth 50% of the first grade that you'll be receiving for this class, okay? I'm telling you right now what's going to be expected of you day 1. So don't act surprised, okay? Day 1, when you walk in, first thing we will do towards the last 10 minutes of class is I will lay down on your desk. I will be like, what book did you read? Bam. And I'm going to give you a quiz. It's going to be 20 to 25 questions. I'm not really sure yet. 20 to 25 questions, making each of them worth about 2 to 2.5 points a pop. Questions about any Nimrod that read that book will be able to answer, all right? Now, some of you are like, well, I'll just go read Squiddo or whatever. No, absolutely not. If you do that, you will miss out on all the details that these writers actually give. That is a great piece of historical writing to get you introduced to reading factual-based secondary source evidence of extremely deep historical concepts, all right? You need to read these books. So let's go through them really quick and talk about maybe where you want to get started, all right? So we're going to start off with, we're going to go from, we'll do it this way. We'll go from longest to shortest, okay? 2 of them in the middle are kind of like, because they both have a lot of pictures and stuff, so they're like right there in terms of length. And ironically enough, when it comes to readability, it's also the flow of which they go, all right? So start off with the first one. It's called Sophies World, right? Sophies World by Gardner is a Scandinavian-based writer. He is writing this story. It's a fictional telling of the history of Western philosophy, going all the way back to Plato and the Greeks, and then all the way forward to modern-day philosophy, including things like the contraction of the universe and things like that. So Jostein Gaarder, though, he wrote this from the perspective of a 14-year-old girl awaiting her 15th birthday who starts to receive these, innocuous gifts and things like that, and then she discovers all these amazing things about philosophy, going into the Renaissance philosophers. He even talks about some scientific revolutionary thinkers when he talks about Galileo and the inclined planes and all these amazing, really, really cool, very visual examples of philosophy, right? The David Hume chapter is one of my favorites. I think that after reading that one, he really turned me on to the ideas of empirical-based learning, which I think is really, really important. It's a lot of the reasons why I teach the way that I do. Speaking of that book, though, the middle, the Berkeley chapter, it's going to blow your mind, all right? So if you decide to read it, it's going to freak you out. It's going to leave you sitting there for about 5 to 10 minutes going just kind of looking over your surrounding world, getting a little freaked out, all right? So it's a great book, though. I love it, but it is the longest one as well. It's about 500 pages. It's like a solid Harry Potter book length, all right? So if you're a month out, if you feel gung-ho about it, it does not take a month to read a book. It'll take you a week and a half to read that one if you just go chapter by chapter a night. It's not that bad, all right? So, speaking of, when you come into that first day, if you want to bring your book with you with little bookmarks in it, highlights, whatever, you can, all right? So I'll let you use that. It's fine. You're only going to have 10 minutes to take a quiz, though, so trying to hunt through that book to find answers is going to be pretty tough for you. So anyway, going off that one, the next one we have is called The Clockwork Universe by Edward Dolnick, right? So that one, for my math fans, for my science fans, for my people that really love the unity of really intelligent, highly liquid kind of thought concepts, including what is infinity, the birth of things like calculus. Clockwork Universe is great, all right? The very first part of the book where it starts out talking about the reemergence of the plague in London and how it affected the Royal Society and the Great Fire and the ideas of comets and how they all thought they were premonitions from God, and how science in its infancy started out as such a macabre kind of thing, right? But then he progresses forward to the feud between Leibniz and Newton, and talks about Newton and how just kind of quirky and an odd guy he was, and it's a great book. Really enjoyed it. I even got Mr. Martin turned on to it. All right, so Mr. Martin is a big fan of this book now too, so you can talk to him about it as well if you decide to read this one. But Edward Dolnick's Clockwork Universe is very, very good. I would recommend that to my guys like Jules Baer. I think you'd like that book a lot. So it's a very, very, very good book. To my Sophies World people on the very first one, if you like fiction, it'll be a little bit more for you, right? Now, so starting with Edward Dolnick's Clockwork Universe and then moving into our next book, Michelangelo and the Pope's Ceiling by Ross King. When I first made your summer assignment, excuse me, let me finish my sentence. Started with Edward Dolnick's Clockwork Universe and then moving into the rest of them. The rest of them are complete nonfiction. All right, so they are historical accounts, complete secondary source material. All right. Now, Ross King's Michelangelo and the Pope's Ceiling, you'll notice when you read the summer assignment that I kind of am very I allude to almost that I didn't like this book that much. But the last time I read it before rereading it again this past summer was in college. And when I reread it this summer, good Lord. I don't know. I just guess I didn't give it enough time. But that book, I banged that book out in a week, and it was phenomenal. And the only reason it took me a week, I would have finished it in probably 3-4 days had I not been busy. You know what I mean? With vacations and stuff. So it's a great, great book. And it talks about just the feud between Michelangelo and Raphael and how, Michelangelo didn't want to paint that ceiling at all. He wanted to work on the tomb of Julius. And, it's just a great book. Very, very good. Dolnick's Clockwork Universe and Ross King's Michelangelo and the Pope's Ceiling are about the same length, 300 plus pages. All right. So, however, both those books also have a lot of pictures in them. So that actually does help it out a lot. And in terms of readability, those 3 books, Michelangelo and the Pope's Ceiling, Clockwork Universe, Sophie's World, are very easy to read. They're very engaging and things like that. Some people argue that A Clockwork Universe is a little harder to read when it gets into really heavy math concepts, but for my math fans out there, you'll actually enjoy it a lot. So the last book is also by Ross King, who's a very prolific writer in the historical community. It's called, I don't know why my nose itches so bad. So anyway, I got to hear. Never mind. Ross King's Brunelleschi's Dome. Very good book. Super dummy short for the people in this class that are going to be a little lazy. All right. It's 160 pages. It's got pictures. All right. But I'm going to tell you straight up, it's not if I were in high school, I would find it hard to read. And what I mean by that is because it's about an architectural development throughout history and one particular building. So I love it. I think it's a great book. I think that some people will find it very hard to understand because the design concepts that are alien to you as much as they were alien to people in the 1420s when this thing was being built. By the way, I've seen this building the dome that he built in Florence. Seen it firsthand, almost cried because I was just so looking forward to seeing it. But wow, it's a good book. However, I'm telling you, if you're waiting to the last minute to pick up a book, that's a bold move because it is a thick book that's harder. It's for someone who isn't really into architecture, it is a little harder to understand. All right. And I'm not trying to be oh, go read the longer ones. I'm just saying. All right. I think that some of the earlier ones are a lot easier to read. And that Ross King, his Brunelleschi's Dome, the last one, however shorter it is some thicker conceptual stuff. So be prepared for that. Just letting you know. But the biggest thing is remember that quiz is coming. And every one of these summer assignments will fill in your first grades for the coming quarter. So to give you a heads up on grading, just to let you know, I organized my grading into 4 parts. For AP especially. It goes Tier 3 assignments, which are worth 50% of your grade. That's your tests, projects, longer writings, anything like that. That is going to be 50% of your grade. The next tier is Tier 2 assignments. A Tier 2 assignment is map quizzes. Just contextual, that's the word I'm looking for. Contextual quizzes, right? Things on content, stuff like that. Higher-based assignments that I feel will take you 2 to 3 days to do. Okay? The Tier 1 assignments are 15% of your grade. That's your homework. That's your daily stuff. That's your, piddly little, a flip here, flip there. Maybe fill in this map or be ready to come back in and talk about this, yada, yada, yada. Bang. The last grade is a grade that I've never done before. And I'm doing this particularly because in my experience, AP classes can be stifled from kids not participating. All right? So these are ones that I've observed, ones that I've taught, a lot of different stuff. So 5% of your grade, you will not be able to get an A in this class, is based off class participation as well as your daily work. It's in terms of like warm-ups, participating. Like, you don't have to catch the ball, all right? You don't have to catch the ball, but please raise your hand and talk, all right? So it's class participation and like your warm-up stuff when we do them, okay? So that's it. That's your welcome video. Gives you a rundown of everything that you need to know going into the first day of class. Make sure you have your maps ready, your flips ready, your book report ready, and be ready for that quiz day one on the book that you read, all right? So looking forward to it. And right after this, I'm going to jump right into your first flip. We're going to talk about leading up in the Renaissance, getting into Renaissance Europe, talk about the growth and development of the northern Italian city-states. But let's get after it. So I'll see you guys in a few. Have a good afternoon.